Big Saku! Why is this in front of me? No, get behind me. Be gone with you. I am getting everything set up here. Give me just a minute, Pebbles. I will be ready in just a sec. We are getting queued up here. Alright, I am too high because I put myself too high in VTube Studios. I get a little smaller. There. Okay. Hi. I hope y'all are having a good week. It is Thursday for me. If it is another day for you, I hope you're having a good day. If you don't know what Tower Tours are, Tower Tours is something I started doing not that long ago. It's an idea I had for a long time where we do some just chatting and I come hang out with y'all and we talk about whatever pops into my little head. Sometimes it's like a theme, sometimes it's just a bunch of different little things. Sometimes it is like just a single thing that I want to talk about. I do also want to recap. We are doing the Brain Injury Association of America Donathon for March. March is Brain Injury Awareness Month. The BIAA raises funds for treatment, recovery, and research efforts for folks who have suffered a traumatic brain injury. It's a really good cause. I'm dedicating this one to my friend Prism Splay. She raised over $5,000 for the BIAA when she did one of her charity streams before she graduated. And it's just a really cool cause. If you can't donate, that's totally okay. No pressure. No pressure. Streams are free. No one needs to apologize for not being able to donate. I'm going to get all my little dings out here so that we can let everyone know that I'm live. Okay, cool. Everyone now will know that I am live. All right. So I know some of you are probably like, what the hell are we doing? What is this? This looks like Stings, Wings, and Other Things because there's a vampire. No. I don't know if I'll ever do a vampire on Stings, Wings, and Other Things. The reason I say that is because I don't have any vampire VTuber friends. And that one's so big because there's vampires in like almost every culture, I feel like. And I'd be like, oh man, I'd have to have some. I'd probably have to do like dragons and vampires. We did one on Dream Dragons with my friend Freya, and that was really fun. But yeah, if I ever do one on actual like vampires or non-specific dragons, then that will take a while. All right. So today we're going to talk about the movie Dracula. This is the Dracula movie that came out in 2026 here in the United States, where me and Tower are currently parked. It premiered in France in 2025. So it's like, one of those movies that like, well, it was premiered in France before it came over here. I watched this movie in Discord the other day with some of my friends, and I was like, I will be 100% honest with y'all. I don't remember seeing any trailers for this movie. I don't remember seeing a trailer for it. I remember like hearing about it, and I'm sure I did see a trailer, but nothing stuck with it. Nothing stuck with me about it. I just like would be like, oh, it's a Dracula movie. Well, I mean, like, Dracula movies have been done so many times. Like, what else can we really do with Dracula at this point? Like, there are so many Dracula movies, and they're so similar. Like, and now we're having like movies that aren't Dracula, but they have other vampires that follow the same formula as Dracula, and they're based on the book. It's like, oh my god, we're never going to escape Dracula. But I was looking for movies because we stream movies in the Discord like 3 or 4 times a week, depending on the month. As little as, usually the average is about 3 times a week, we're watching something in Discord. And I saw this drop, and I was like, it's Dracula. It's like, let's watch it. It'll be Dracula. Like, and a few people showed up. Atomic was there. A few people turned up for it. And I start to play this movie. This is one of the weirdest movies I have ever seen. this is one of the weirdest movies I have ever seen. It is hands down the weirdest Dracula movie I have ever seen. I was like, I'm watching, like, and, like, it didn't start off, like, as a slow burn of oddness. It immediately...
Welcome in, Raiders.
Oh, my God.
There's someone at the door.
Who's raiding me? It's Atomic. Hi, Atomic. I was just talking about you. Thank you for the raid. Hi, everybody. My name is... Liara's here. Hi, Liara. Liara and Atomic, two of my favorite people, but both of them are VIPs and artists in here. Hi, Liara. Hi, Atomic. Atomic was playing Death Stranding 2 with that little weird, the little weird baby. The little weird baby. How you doing, Atomic? How you doing, Liara? Hello, you doing, Raiders? It's so good. I don't want to play that game. It has that little creepy baby. And Norman Reedus. My name is Sakutian. I'm a goofy goober who lives in a magic tower that I kind of crashed. And today we are doing tower tours, which is when I just yap and yammer. And we're going to talk about Dracula, which I watched with Atomic. I watched it with Atomic the other night. And it's a weird movie. And I was confused by it. Wait, what's this? Atomic raid steppies. Oh, it's your raid thing. Okay, gotcha. Wait, I can do something. This is an emote that Liara drew for me. Boop. There you go. That's our Trevor. Trevor is the cassowary who lives in tower with me. Don't pet Trevor. Trevor will potentially eat your hand. Trevor is scary. Trevor is sleeping right now. Trevor had steak. I don't know where Trevor got steak from, but I just saw Trevor with a steak just wandering the corridors earlier. And they went upstairs to have a little nap. So, yeah. You're not going to see Trevor today. Atomic, I hope you had a good stream. If you need to go, that is totally okay. We're going to dive into Dracula here. Okay. So, to recap where we were. I watched this movie in the Discord the other day. I had no idea what I was getting into other than that it was a Dracula movie. It is the weirdest Dracula movie I have ever seen. Like, you'll be lurking while you get some food. Okay, so that's code because Atomic is a little pokey. If you like Gumby, Atomic is pokey. She is going to take probably about 15 to 20 minutes to come back and do the say hello redeem. So I will see you in about 20 minutes, Atomic. When you get back. This movie was weird. And it starts off weird. And I want to start off by saying hi, Liara. Hi. Everyone go follow Liara. Liara streams sometimes. I will even do I have a command for all of like there. Go follow Liara. Liara is one of those generational artists everyone should be following. Liara is very, very talented. And a very, very nice person. So you should go follow them. And check out cool art. She made my model too. So yeah. My streams wouldn't be possible if it weren't for Liara. And Liara is a member of Team Tower, which is me, my friend Prism, my friend Atomic, my friend Liara, and my friend Flara. Flara will be here next week. We're doing a Soul Link Pokemon Nuzlocke, so that'll be fun. So if you like Pokemon, don't worry, we'll get back to that. Okay, I'm not going to get sidetracked anymore. I'm not going to be sidetracked again. I'm going to focus. We're locking in. I do want to start by talking about like some of the notable stuff about this movie. Okay, so it was written and directed by Luc Besson. It is obviously based on the 1897 Dracula novel by Bram Stoker. It stars Caleb Landry Jones, Christopher Waltz, and Zoe Blue. It also features music by Danny Elfman, which I'm like, we were watching the credits. I try to watch the credits for every movie that I stream or watch, because people work hard on films. And like, I saw Danny Elfman, and I was like, holy shit, Danny Elfman did the music for this? That's just a weird, because like Danny Elfman is so recognizable and has done so many movies. I'm like, oh wow, that's really cool. It had a budget of $52 million, and according to current, it's raised $42.3 million. So, as time goes on, I'm sure it'll earn more money and people will rent it and buy it and do all that good stuff. Yeah. So, the movie starts off. I'm going to set the scene. The movie starts off with Dracula. And you see Dracula is with his lady friend, and they are getting sexy. They are getting naughty. I don't know how long these two have been together. At first I thought they had just gotten married or something, but I don't think that's the case. They just start like, it's like, oh, this is something. It starts off like he's coming in and he's got like some big billowy shirt on and he's like stripping, and the two of them are making out and having sex and they're laying in the bed, and it's like, okay, so it's Dracula. He's like, this is his wife. Sure, fine, whatever. Then it gets weird. The sex isn't the weird part. The weird part is like all of the stuff that isn't sex that goes into this scene. These two are both have like these big billowy white kind of like evening gown things on. And at one point, they're both like in the closet and he's putting one on and she like crawls up in it with him. And they're both wearing it and they're just like dancing together. And I'm like, okay, that's a little weird, but whatever. It's cute. They're in love. Okay, sure. Yeah, no, fine. And then they are like, I don't know where she got this. She has like a bunch of rose petals and she just starts hurling them all over the bed. And I'm like, wait, isn't that something you do like just set up, not like in the middle of sexy time? But whatever. Okay, fine. A little odd. They're like eating dinner. So like during this whole montage of Dracula's sex, like the time of day is shifting. Like sometimes the fire is going and the candles are lit up, and other times it's like the middle of the day. There is no rhyme or reason to Dracula's sex time. It's just a series of saucy Dracula business. They're eating dinner, which is fine. And they start like, I don't know what they were eating. It looks like they were eating porridge or ice cream. I don't know. It's dark. You can't really tell. They just start smearing it all over each other's faces and like fingering each other's mouths. And I'm like, I don't like this. This is weird. This feels like someone's fetishes made it into the writer's room. Like the wet and messy fetish has just like gotten in here somehow. And we're all just kind of like host to it. And then it just goes back to straight sex. And Dracula's just like banging this lady. And like the servants are watching and listening. And then all these soldiers show up and they're like, oh yeah, the Ottomans are coming. We have to get ready. And they like they get Dracula and they're like, okay, you need to get in your armor. And I guess this is going to be me recapping the movie. So if there are spoilers, there are going to be spoilers. I've already, that's just like the first few minutes of this movie. This dude's going to go, Dracula's going to go fight the Ottomans. So they're getting him ready. And he's like, okay, I'm going to send you to another castle where you'll be safe. Just like Princess Peach. She's going to be in another castle. Only, you know, Bowser won't be there, giving her back shots. They are doing, so she gets in this really they both have like an outfit change. He gets all armored up and he's got this like dragon helmet, and she gets just like changes into like this really big, very ornate gown, and they're gonna leave. Before Dracula goes off to fight the Ottomans, they take him before like the cardinal, and the cardinal's like, you know, God will protect you, and the Ottomans are coming, and you have to protect us, and blah, 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 blah. And Dracula's like, yep, yep. I ask for only one thing. Can you please make sure my wife doesn't die? And it's like, I am sorry, but I can't guarantee that. So They basically just are like, we'll pray for it. It's fine. It's okay. Everything's fine. Dracula goes off to battle to fight the Ottomans, and his wife goes off with, like, I'm gonna say no less than 4, no more than like 6 guys. Her name, just for she's Zoe Blue. She's played by, she is Elizabeta, and she's played by Zoe Blue. If I'm mispronouncing anyone's names, I apologize. I'm not trying to be mean. But some of these actors, I think, may be French, so I'm doing my best. Which that bugged me immediately, because, like, she comes out and she's on a horse, and the horse is very cute, and her dress is very pretty, and the guards are there, and I'm like, wait, aren't you, like, aren't you going to another castle? Wouldn't you be in a carriage? Like, it seems like it's going to be really uncomfortable to, like, ride in a super, super ornate gown in the winter for, I presume, many miles at minimum. Especially during, like, you know, when you're trying to keep her safe. I'm like, well, just put her in a carriage and just, you know, send her that way. Everything will be great. And they're like, nah, He goes to the battlefield, and all of his soldiers are there, and they're all, like, ramped up. They see him put on his big dragon helmet. They're like, ah, war! We love war! They're all doing the solo leveling thing. And the Ottomans army is on the other side of the field, and they're gonna rush each other. And you're watching this, and you're like, okay, his big move in this is you're watching this, and you're like, okay, it's like a medieval. It's the 1400s when Dracula's first part of this is taking place. And you're like, okay, are we gonna see some, like, medieval strategy? Is there gonna be some crazy, like, tactics? No, there's not. There's not. They have, like, big buckets, basically, or pitchers or urns or whatever you want to call them, filled with oil, and they've just doused the field in oil. And as these Ottomans are going to come running up to them, they light it on fire. Now, I want to be clear. They didn't dig a trench. They didn't trap the Ottomans in the fire, which that would have been smart. They didn't do anything that was really advantageous with the fire other than lighting it, like, literally at their feet. So the Ottomans just come running up, see the fire, and are like, oh, well, shit. And I do want to say, like, you can use fire, and people have used fire in medieval war and war throughout history. Like, you know, you can use it in a way where it's like, okay, well, we'll make sure the wind's blowing into them, and we can disrupt them. We can, like, break their charge, and like, you know, if they have cavalry, then the horses won't want to ride through fire. Or they won't care. Because they're war horses, and they're well-trained. The funniest thing that happened right at the start of this movie is this dude, this one Ottoman soldier, jumps up into the air and double kicks this one of Dracula's soldiers in the chest and knocks him down, going through the fire to do it. And I'm like, get that man a promotion. That is the man this movie should be about. That's the man this whole movie should be about. I don't care about any of these other soldiers. Dracula can go have wet, messy feeding time with Elizabeta. I don't care. And then the fight, basically, you know, Dracula wins because Dracula. He just apparently is like, hi, I'm just that good. I win. The Ottoman camp is shown briefly, and they're, like, waiting, I guess, for, you know, to hear news of the battle and what's gonna happen. And you see Dracula show up with, like, one dude's head on a spike, and I'm like, oh. And when I was watching the movie, I was like, did I zone out? Was that guy important? Was that guy, like, part of this guy's family? Or, like, there's no character development for any of the Ottoman soldiers. I'm like, did I miss something? Like, and then, like, all of his soldiers show up and they all have heads on spikes. I'm like, oh, we're going for, like, a mass terror thing. We're going for, like, a big spectacle. I'm like, oh, okay, so that's fine, whatever. Cool. Go you. Meanwhile, Elizabeta is riding through the woods in the winter in her very, very ornate gown with her not enough guards. And a couple of Ottomans jump them. And they kill all her guards, and then they chase her. And she rides out into this big, like, open field, which is covered in a layer of snow. And underneath the snow, is just, like, a minefield of bear traps. So, of course, they all, like, ride into these traps, and she falls down and gets hurt. And her, the Ottoman dudes are like, all right, we're going to walk slowly towards her, using our swords to look for traps. So, and she steps on a trap. So she's stuck. She can't get the trap off her leg. After she falls off her horse, she steps on a trap, too. So it's like, oh, you're having a bad day. Dracula runs off in pursuit of her to stop the Ottomans from killing her. And there's like 3 of them. There's like 3 soldiers, and he kills 2 of them. And this is one of those things where it's like, I may be misinterpreting the shot. So if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But this is how I'm interpreting it. So the last guy is ahead of him. And again, he's like, they're being careful because there's all these bear traps on the ground. He throws his sword at the last guy to kill him as he's like getting ready to stab Elizabeta. And then he falls down and you see she's been stabbed. So I don't know if that guy had already stabbed her, or if the sword went completely through that guy and stabbed her. But then Dracula runs up and grabs her. He's like, no, my love. My love. Then he goes back to his castle and he just crashes out. He goes berserk. He breaks into the Cardinal's church, and he's just the little chapel thing he has in his castle. And he's like yelling at this dude. And he's like, why didn't you save my wife? Bring her back to life. And the dude's like, dude, we don't do that. We're not necromancers. We don't bring people back to life. She's dead. She'll go to heaven. It's fine. Calm down. And he kills him. He just straight up kills him. Breaks a cross in half and stabs the dude. And is like, I renounce God. I renounce the church. I renounce everything. And yeah, he's pissed off. He's really pissed off at this point, which, fine, whatever. Your wife just died. It's very sad. It's understandable. He's like, who will I wear big shirts with now? Going into the next, like, little bit of this. So then they have a funeral. Like, I'm telling some of the stuff out of sequence, but it's fine. And, like, his soldiers are still there. He still has guys at this point who are watching this who just like, okay, cool. I'm with it. Yeah, sure. And then they bury Elizabeta. Okay. Meanwhile, in the future, we're introduced to a few other characters. Sir Christopher Waltz plays the priest. They just call him the priest the whole movie. We are introduced to him. We're introduced to Dumont, who's played by, and again, I apologize if I say this person's name wrong, Guillaume del Toncudec. And there's also a third character who we meet who's like an assistant. I don't have that actor's name in front of me, and I'm not going to dig for it. They basically are saying, like, okay, we have this person in an asylum who Dumont is like the head of the asylum, and he's like, something weird's going on. So they've sent for a priest because they think it's like, this may be something outside of science. And the priest is like, all right, bet, let's go check this out. And they take him and the assistant, and they go to look at what is going on. And they are introduced to this character named Maria, who's played by Matilda de Angelis. Matilda is a vampire. She was bitten by Dracula, and she is very, very pretty, and she is very, very fun in the beginning scene of this movie. So she's just like in this really big dress, and we come to find out she was about to get married when they brought her here, and she is just like chained up. And the priest does this really cool monologue talking about like how you have to prove this stuff, prove that it's supernatural. This is another thing with this movie that I'm going to harp on. So vampire rules are very fluid. Vampires in one universe may be hurt or killed or damaged by something, and another universe may not care about it. Like, sometimes they care about crosses and holy water, and other times, like, I do not care. Sometimes it's just articles of faith. Like, if you use a crucifix, it's the same as if you use a Star of David or like another religious icon, as long as you believe in it. As long as you believe in that object and have faith, then it will drive a vampire back. Those are very fast and loose rules. You know, can the vampire come in? Do they need an invitation? Those are all some of the rules that, like, vary wildly depending on the vampire and who's writing it and how complicated they want it to be. So he's like, all right, let's do it. Let's do a vampire test. And he proceeds to open the window, and her hand, like, instantly chars. And it was funny because we were watching the movie. It's like, well, I mean, people do have allergies to sunlight. That's a very extreme allergy, but, like, there are people who would be hurt. And some people are mentally ill and might just react really badly. Then they hold up a cross, and, like, she makes it burst into flames. I'm like, okay, well, that's just straight up pyrokinesis or magic, or she's a vampire. And she's just kind of basically trying to, like, seduce them, and they give her some blood from the little assistant boy, and they're like, we need information. And they relate that, you know, she was getting married, and on their wedding day, basically, they were gonna get, like, married at home in a quiet ceremony, and someone invited a priest, and she went absolutely batshit and was, like, throwing people. And then they're like, oh no, she's insane. We gotta get her, like, locked up. And the reason the priest is there, the reason everyone's taking so much interest in this, is because she was gonna marry a wealthy man who is associated with the queen. And everyone's like, okay, fine, great, we gotta deal with this. Also, there's another little odd wrinkle to this movie, and we're gonna talk about geography. I'm so excited. Okay, so this movie, unlike a lot of the Dracula movies, is not primarily set in England. So Keanu Reeves is not in England walking around being like, boop, 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 boop. It is set instead in France. It's actually in Paris, because they give you a ton of shots of Paris. So a lot of the movie takes place in Paris. Other parts take place throughout other chunks of Europe, depending on the scene. But it's important for what I'm going to harp on later. The movie is primarily taking place in Paris. Okay. Not England. Not England. But it's, yeah. So do with that what you will. A lot of the people in the movie do still, I believe, remain English. They're just in Paris for one reason or another. We're going to talk about a few more things here. So, at the same time, just to add more fuel to the fire, a character you probably will recognize as soon as I name them, Jonathan Harker. Yeah, Jonathan Harker. Wait a sec, I'm checking something. Jonathan Harker is played by Uwais Abid in this movie, and he's probably the best actor in this movie, except for actually everyone who was in this movie did a really good job. I felt like he was like one of the most, like, this dude could be in any Dracula movie as this character, and I believe him as this character immediately. He did a really good job. He's like, it's like, dude, you could step into any portrayal of Dracula and you would be perfect, because he's just a nice little lawyer dude. He steps in, and it's pretty much where you would expect to find Jonathan Harker. He's arriving outside of Dracula's castle. The carriage driver drops him off and tells him, like, here's your bags. He's like, can I get some help? And he's like, no, I can't leave my horses. The wolves will eat them. Good luck. Do you want to cross? And he's like, no, I don't believe in God. And it's like, well, you better hope he believes in you. And then leaves. And then there's this moment of him walking towards Dracula's castle and basically seeing wolves in the woods. It's a cool shot, and it's always nice to see the wolves get to make an appearance. It makes Dracula a little more scary when he has actual, minions to mess with you. He goes in the castle, and this is where I think that Caleb Landry Jones, who plays Dracula, did his best work in this movie. This is where I think he did the best work in this movie, because he's old Dracula. So he's that Dracula that you see at the start of the movie, where he's all wrinkled and he's all pruny and his nails are long. He's just gone full introvert. He's just gone full, I don't give a fuck, I'm inside, leave me alone. He got his hair's all crazy. But he's very charming. I will say that. He is a very charming version of that character. Because usually that character is kind of like rude and off-putting, and it's like, I am a lord. Do not question me. You must bounce on it. Crazy style. And he's not like that in the initial meeting. He, brings him in, and the movie gets weird again. They have a little, I'm not gonna recite the dialogue, but they have a little back and forth. And Jonathan's there for work. Dracula's telling him, yeah, I used to travel. And then during the course of the meal, so they have a big banquet, and and Dracula's not eating. He's like, oh, I don't eat now. And Jonathan's just having a little bit of everything, and Dracula's egging him on. I'm like, does Dracula have a feeding kink? He's like, eat some of this and eat some of that. And it's just I think Dracula's a feeder, man. I think he just likes watching people eat, because maybe he can't eat. We never really established if Dracula can eat. Sometimes vampires can eat human food. Sometimes it makes them just super sick, so do with that what you will. This dude has a bowl, and it is filled with a bouquet of lobsters. There are just lobsters just stacked the height of a child. And every time I see him in the shot, I'm just like, that's weird. That's a weird thing to do with lobsters. I feel like if you have that many lobsters, you have too many lobsters. This is dinner for two. Dracula's not feigning or being cute or being funny. He's just straight up using magic in front of Jonathan, as soon as he shows up. He puts out a torch with his bare hand that Jonathan's holding, and, you see a bunch of, candles light up. And I was like, okay, no, that's creepy. That's creepy and weird. He, makes stuff move on the table with, vampire magic, and it's and Jonathan's like, oh, that's a good trick. And it's like, Jonathan, you should be concerned. The cross, the rosary that he was given, falls out of his bag while he's looking for something, and Dracula sees it and is like, I thought you said you want to believe her. And he's like, oh, I'm not, it's a superstition. He's like, oh, okay. And then he now Jonathan doesn't see this, I don't think, but Dracula uses magic to make it fly into the fireplace and burn, because I guess easier to eat people that way. He also grabs a rat and crushes it with his bare hand at the table and drinks its blood. Now, I don't think Jonathan really saw that, because he's using, little sleight of hand. It's yeah, sneaky, sneaky. They'll never see that. And I'm like, there's no way you didn't see or hear any of that. I know it's a dark room. I know that you're relying on candlelight and firelight. No way, man. Mm-mm. You saw some of that. You heard some of that. And then, they have this long back and forth conversation, and they proceed to go up to Jonathan's room. Jonathan's room is pretty nice. It's well maintained. And at this point, I'm looking for the scene where you're gonna have the three brides show up. They are not in this movie. Spoiler alert: if you're here for Vampire Brides, they are not in this movie. So if you're just here waiting for the scene where the sexy vampire ladies show up, I have bad news for you. They aren't showing up. There are some sexy vampire ladies in the movie, but it's not the brides. It's just some of Dracula's servants. They don't show up in this movie. Also, here. You're okay. You're safe. Everything's fine. There. You can have them. They're great. Go watch Van Helsing. Go watch Van Helsing with his brides. Alright, we're going back to Dracula. Okay. Dracula basically shows in the room and is like, here's your room. Please don't leave your room. No matter what you hear, just don't leave your room. And he's like, why? And he's like, it's an old castle. And I'm like, okay, I could buy that. Like, it's an old castle. There's not, it's not in the best state of repair. Maybe in some parts you could fall and get hurt. Jonathan immediately leaves his room. Like, the next scene, it's like, fade to Jonathan just wandering around. And we're like, oh, he's gonna get it. He's gonna get it bad. He's gonna get it so bad. It's gonna be real, real bad what happens to this man. Jonathan stumbles upon Dracula, and Dracula's like, I told you not to leave your room. And then they chain him up, and they just jump right to it. They're like, all right, I'm gonna chain you up. And he's like, are you gonna kill me? He's like, well, not right away. First, I'm gonna let all the blood run to your head, and let it congeal, and then he cuts his neck. Also, at this point, we're introduced to something that is new. Dracula has gargoyle servants. Yeah, isn't that neat? Isn't that a neat little thing? You remember Dracula's gargoyle servants? I mean, they're in every Dracula movie. Right? I mean, actually, let me grab this. I'll show you all, I'll show you what Dracula looks like, because I think it's important. I'm grabbing this image. Give me one sec. I am grabbing my image of... Okay, so this is what Dracula looks like when Jonathan meets him. He has giant rings. He's like, fully wrinkled up, got the hair... But he is very, he is charming. He is charming at first. He's creepy, but he is also charming. You'd be like, he's a little weird. He's a little eccentric, it is what it is. And he has gargoyle servants who are, like, I'm trying to grab this image. Give me one sec. Okay, I got it. It might be a little hard to see him in this because, shockingly, there aren't a lot of images, but I'm gonna put them on screen for you all so you can get a little look. Okay, here they are. So they are alive. They move at superhuman speed. They are strong. They are moving around. They are holding Jonathan. They've got Jonathan chained up. And Dracula cuts his throat. Doesn't kill him. Just kind of gives him a little shaving cut type deal. So some of his blood drips into a bowl one of the little gargoyles is holding. And the gargoyle proceeds to drink the blood, which makes so many questions. And Dracula and him have another tete-a-tete, a little back and forth, where he's like, do you have a last wish? And it's like, I wish you'd tell me your story. He straight up gets this guy syndroming. He straight up just gets him monologuing, telling his entire story. So they get him set up in a chair, and the vampire story begins. The movie continues to get weirder. It continues to get weirder. This is not the end of this is not the weirdness. Also, if someone says, don't you have a last wish? It's like, dude, wish that he would let you go. But it's still pretty good that you got a monologue. That's helpful. That'll come in handy. So they jump back to the past, Samurai Jack style. It's just him telling the story, but we see a flashback where, again, his wife Elizabeta is dead. They've buried her in this really big grave, and he just is basically despondent. He's sad. His wife is dead. He tries to take his own life by jumping out of a window repeatedly. Doesn't work. It hurts him, but he doesn't die. He just jumps out of the highest window in the tallest tower, Shrek style, over and over again, And like each time he's walking back up the stairs, and it's like, okay, he's hurt, but it's not killing you. You're still walking around doing stuff. Um, I'll use my friend Prism's emote to illustrate. He just like fully like jumps out of the window, and you don't see the servants anymore, by the way, which makes me think that they've kind of been like, okay, they're not here for his pouting about Elizabeth. They're like, dude, just marry someone else. She was weird. She was odd. Um, he does three things during his story. So this covers about 400 years of material. He goes to India, and he goes to perfume makers, and he goes to florists, and he uncovers this fragrance that will allow him to control people. This is, again, one of those things that this is my interpretation. If it is not what the filmmakers intended, then I apologize. This is what me and a couple other people determined as we were watching the movie. Okay. So he's like, makes this fragrance, and he starts going to he describes it as every court in Europe. And, over hundreds of years. And he's just basically like got this perfume spritzer. And he sprays it. Women are just like completely like orgasming, and even the dudes are just like, oh, he's so great. There is the weirdest segment in this movie where he starts to make them dance. And it's like, this is weird. This is, and even, and like, we're like, weren't you sad that your wife was dead? And it's like, oh, he's just having fun now. He's just enjoying life. He was sad. Now he's just like, going to Russia and France and England and just be like, dance for me. But he's always looking for Elizabetha because he thinks she's going to be reincarnated so that he can be with her again. So he does have a goal. He's trying to find his dead wife who he thinks has been reincarnated, even though the church explicitly says we don't do reincarnation. But he's like, she's going to be reincarnated. She is. You don't know. You don't know. And he goes to all these courts, and no, he never sees her. And eventually, he finally sees someone who looks like her, and he's like, oh my god, it's her. I have found my love. And he's like, Elizabetha? And she's like, no, my name's not Elizabetha. And she just like kind of makes fun of him and mocks him openly. And he's just really sad and walks away. Then he crashes out again and just starts biting everybody. He bites like all these people. And it's like, it's not like he did it quietly off to the side. He's like in a big ballroom filled with people, and he just starts biting people and making vampires. Okay. A few things that they never explain. We never see Dracula become a vampire. It's never explained if it's like, well, God withheld death from him. And it's like, okay, but how does he, like, know he's that you didn't, like, normally it's like, there's an X-Men moment where we know definitively vampire. How did he know he could bite people like that? I guess he just figured he could. And you see, he bites like a bunch of people here, including the person who he thought was Elizabetha, who didn't remember him, because he's just like, well, I'm gonna bite some people and murder them, I guess. And then he basically relates like, okay, at this point he is very, very sad, and he goes back to his castle, opens the grave, crawls inside of Elizabetha's grave, and she's dust. It's been hundreds of years. She's just dust at this point, and he's just like sad and despondent. There is no more joy in the world for him at this point. He goes back into his castle, and he's now basically says he relies on his vampire agents to search for her. And there's this little montage sequence. I'm going to say two things here. What happens in the montage is his gargoyles just bring him stuff. Like, the main chamber of his castle, his dining hall, whatever you want to call it, they are just bringing heaps of gold. They bring sarcophaguses, they bring statues, they bring just like all kinds of stuff. And like, you know, it's suggests obviously this is like potentially over a long period of time, because it takes a long time for a gargoyle to make its way all the way to Egypt, pick up a sarcophagus, and carry it all the way home. That's gonna take a minute. They're not big gargoyles. They're like, you know, half the size of an adult person. They're like 3 feet tall. So it takes them a while. We never see any of his vampire agents like doing anything to look for Elizabeta. At all. At all. At all. No one ever says he never, like, you know, now he says he met with them. He says he's like, yeah, find her. I don't think they were looking for her. I think they all just became vampires and went and did their own thing. But whatever. Cool. Great. Fantastic. At the end of his story, Jonathan is like, you have to let me live because I have a great love too. And it's like, oh, do you? What's she look like? And he's like, well, I have a picture of her. And it's in my locket. And Dracula's like, all right, show it to me. And he like takes the locket, opens it up. And he's like, this woman is mine. And he says, I will spare your life because you found her for me. And then he goes out to his grand hall and he's just like, I must be beautiful, bring me blood, I must be fabulous for my woman. And he's just like, okay, whatever, great, fantastic. We'll get back to Dracula and Jonathan in a minute. Meanwhile, if you're confused listening to me relate this, believe me, it's not much less confusing to watch the movie. Meanwhile, we are introduced to Mina, who is going to marry Jonathan. She's Jonathan's fiancée, and she is Elizabeta reincarnated, also played by Zoe Blue. She is at the asylum where she has come to check on her friend, Maria. Dear Maria, I'm coming with you. Where Dumont and the priest are. And she basically, and they're like, okay, well, can you tell us anything about this? Because you were there, you know what's up. And she's like, look, I went to an engagement party with my fiance, Jonathan. I met her, like, she says, like, days ago or yesterday. And this is again where I'm going to start. We're going to talk about geography. Jonathan is shown to be in Romania or Wallachia. We're going to talk about Wallachia. Okay, so I'm grabbing a map to illustrate some stuff. Give me a second because I need you to all to come on this journey with me. I need you to understand why it bothers me. So we're doing some geography here. If Prism were here, she'd be screaming because she hates geography. Here's a map of Europe. The image highlighted in green is approximately Wallachia. Wallachia is a geographical region of modern-day Romania, as well as one of 2 historical Romanian principalities that laid the foundation for the establishment of the modern Romanian state. This is Wallachia in 1812. So, like, modern-day Romania. I'm going to make this map a little bit bigger. Do you see how far that is from France? Do you see how far that is? It's going to come up again. So, I'm going to give you the rough mileage. So this is driving distance. So, you know, take that into account too. It is approximately 1,379 miles or 2,219 kilometers. So it's a considerable ways. That's not like something. Well, you could drive that in like a day, a little bit more than a day if you drove for 24 hours. Yes, that's driving. I want you to imagine you went to a party, saw someone crash out and try to beat a priest to death, and then you're like, okay, fiance, I'm going to go 1,000 miles, and like, it's landlocked. So like, I don't think he took a boat. I think he went overland in this. That's the suggestion, and probably most of that was like by carriage. So it's like, dude, it took you days. It took you days, possibly months or weeks to get there. That is not a like we just popped in and like went there and hung out and we got some pizza rolls. She relates that, you know, she's like, and then like they get into weird stuff with her at this point where they're like, oh, what can you tell us about you? And she's like, oh, I'm like an orphan, and you know, I met Jonathan, and he has a respectable family, I suppose. And they're like, well, what do you mean you suppose? And they never go back to that. They never go back to explaining any of that. There's very little explanation of these two. Again, it's really focused on recapping the fact that this vampire woman they've got locked up in the asylum is a vampire, but she doesn't really know her very well. So she goes back to her apartments. We'll rejoin her a little bit later. Okay. We're going to get my Dracula picture back. Wait, I gotta grab this. Give me one sec. I am grabbing this picture to illustrate what this dude looks like. So, for most of the movie, Dracula goes through a couple of looks. This is like, I guess, like his courting look. This is what Dracula wears when he's like, I want to be sexy and young. But I know. You're all very curious. How did Dracula become sexy and young again? We saw him before. He was old and dusty. Saku, how did he get sexy? Well, he drank blood. Not just any blood. No. Not just any blood. He went to a local, I'm going to say a convent or a nunnery. I don't know exactly what it was. There were a lot of nuns there. He disguises himself as like an old beggar who's 7 feet tall. He's hunched over, but I'm like, okay, wait. So this old dude, you live in like Romania. You live in Dracula's backyard. You know there are vampires. If someone comes up to your house, and they did use the invitation rule here, and then ignored it everywhere else, where they's like, invite me in. And it's like, okay, sure, come in, we'll get you some soup. And they go and they lead him in, and they get him some soup. And then he unleashes that he is Dracula. And proceeds to perfume sex the nunnery. And has a nun blood orgy. I am not making that up. That is a sentence. And he, like, it's such a weird sequence in the film. He basically, like, has all these nuns, like, it's a cool shot, but it's weird. It's a weird sequence. The nuns are just writhing, and he's not really biting them for, I'd say, probably, like, a solid 3 to 5 minutes. It's just nun sex orgy, followed by him biting one nun. Presumably he killed them all. I'm sure he did. I'm sure he killed them all and drank their blood. Because, I mean, you know, he needed it to be this. I guess. I am explaining so much. We're going to jump back to Wallachia now, where we left Jonathan. Remember, Jonathan is being held captive by the little creepy gargoyles, because Dracula's like, well, I'll let you live, I guess, because you found my lady love for me. So they're holding Jonathan captive. Jonathan escapes, goes out the window. The little gargoyles are too big to get out of the window. So they're trying to grab him. Then it's like, ah! And every time they get to a window, he's just like No, I'm just gonna climb this way, or climb slightly to the left, or climb slightly to the right. They'll never get me. They'll never see this move coming. They grab ropes and hooks. They snag Jonathan. He falls off the wall and lands in the snow and lives. Amazing. Fantastic. Well done, Jonathan. He goes out onto this big frozen lake that's right next to the castle, and the gargoyles go to pursue him, but one falls through because they're stone. They're very heavy. Now, we never really established, did this kill the gargoyles? I don't think it did. I think that they just fall to the bottom of the lake and sit there and chill and, like, you know, presumably, you know, walk along the bottom. Pirates of the Caribbean it. Maybe it kills them. I don't know. We never really established what kills the gargoyles or not. Jonathan just, like, is like, cool, I'm leaving. I'm gonna bring my map up again. We're gonna talk about geography again. I know. It's so exciting, isn't it? Isn't it so exciting to be here? We're gonna talk about this again. Remember, green is Wallachia. Green is Romania. France is here. You can't see my cursor, but I'm pretty sure you all know where France is on a map. And he's got to get specifically to Paris. And we looked up that distance before. I am grabbing the miles again, just so we're all on the same page. It's like 2,200 miles, 1,300 miles, 2,200 kilometers. Jonathan has no horse. Jonathan has no carriage. Jonathan is on foot and has no money or shoes or anything. So Jonathan is hoofing it back to Paris. That's going to take a while. He's probably going to die. Dracula, at this point, is ahead of Jonathan. He's already like, I am going to Paris immediately after my nun sex orgy. After my nun blood sex orgy. And some of you are wondering, well, what does Dracula do when he gets there? Well, let me tell you. I will show you what Dracula does when he gets there. Give me 1 sec. I'm grabbing an image of this woman. See, here's the thing. The one big downside to this movie is the images haven't really caught up with it yet. Because, like, they're just funny. They're just funny images. Okay, I got it. This is Maria. This is Maria. This is the woman who is Dracula's only vampire servant that we will see during the film. She's the lady who went nuts at her bridal rehearsal and attacked a priest and got locked up, and that the priest and Dumont have been dealing with. Dracula goes to the asylum to free her, and she's like, I found her, master. What the heck? Do I have a bot? I got a bot. Be gone, bot. Get the hell out of here. The bot caught the bot. That's funny. So he goes to the asylum to free her. And he's like, you deserve a reward. And he rewards her by giving her an assistant to also turn into a vampire and drain. She drinks some of his blood early in the movie, but it was like very, very little that he gave up willingly. And like in exchange for information. And then she's just like, yeah, I'm gonna eat all your blood. And he's a vampire now. And it's like, okay, great. Then Dracula sends her to go and meet Mina, because again, they're friends. They wore big shirts and they rolled around in bed together. I don't mean that in a sexual way. I mean, it's literally what they did on screen. Which I'm like, yeah, I don't think I would probably like meet somebody and immediately have a slumber party with them and like have them like finger bang me, but you know, whatever, you do you. She shows up acting Totally normal. Totally normal. Not strange at all. Not strange at all. Again, remember, these two have met like twice. Maybe. It's very, very unclear how long these two have known each other. And it's like, I have tickets to this carnival thing, to an expose, to a grand event. Come with me, and my friend wants to meet you. And she's like, okay, but I just came from the asylum like yesterday, and they said that you were sick. And she's like, no, I'm all better now. It's cool. So she takes him to meet her friend, who, again, just for reference, her friend looks like this. Totally normal looking, right? Totally normal looking. They meet up, and this is, again, one of the things I'm going to harp on. So remember, at the beginning of the movie, sunlight hurts the vampire, Maria. Dear Maria. Those are thick lips. Ranma, you can't say that. Ranma, you can't say that about his lips. You can't comment on his thick. Do you want to kiss him? Give him a big old... So smooch on his big old thick lips. I don't like his lips. I don't like him. He's not sexy to me. He's just creepy looking. And like the top hat doesn't help. Those are thick lips. Okay. So they go to meet So, okay, wait. I gotta comment on the sunlight thing. So Maria, like, gets burned by sunlight at the start of the movie. Then the rest of the movie, no vampires are affected by sunlight at any point. They don't care. They are out in full sunlight all the time. There's one scene where Maria looks at the sun like, but it doesn't hurt her. So, whatever. He reminds you of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory reboot. Oh my god, he does. She looks like, oh, would you like a Wonka bar? Oh, I've got some fat lips for you to smooch. And then he just smears melted chocolate all over his face. He's like, He's so gross. He's so weird. He's weird. I don't like him. He's weird. They go off on a date to a really weird carnival that has like part sideshow with like a bearded lady and a mermaid. I want to see if I can find a picture of the mermaid from this movie to illustrate how weird this movie is at some places. I don't think I'm going to be able to find a picture. The movie does not have a wealth of imagery yet. Believe it or not, there's a mermaid, and like at one point they're like, watch as I awaken the beast, and it's just a lady in a mermaid tail. It's a very pretty lady with a mermaid tail. And I'm like, is the beast in the room with us? Most of the time she's with Mina. It's Mina hanging out with Maria. Mina and Maria, just to be as so watch me whip, exactly, and watch me nay. Then they go to a haunted house, and they get separated. But Dracula's there, so it's okay. Because it'll be fun to run through the haunted house together and be sexy. Oh my god. That is not sexy. That is not sexy! No, that is not sexy at all. That's horrible. I hate the Grudge. So when they get tired of this big exposition, they decide, well, let's go back to Dracula's hotel room, which is palatial and huge. And like, she briefly comments, it's not really appropriate for us to be here, like, in the room of a man we've just met. That's not appropriate at all. You mentioned haunted house. It was practically necessitated. And she's like, oh, it's fine, whatever. And he proceeds to be creepy and weird with her and just kind of be like, oh, you're the most beautiful. He's just so, like, you're the most perfect one. He just goes full princess. Oh, princess. Are you my reincarnated love, princess? It's creepy. And it's the kind of thing that I would be like, I'm out. I'm out. O-U-T, out. We are out. We are leaving. bum ba dum bum 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 bum. She's like, oh, it's fine, whatever. They watch the fireworks. Dracula gets cock-blocked by fireworks. I know. Amazing. He gives her a little music box that he gave to her as Elizabeta. And it's like, oh, I found this and you might like it. Like, have this gold music box. Just cause person I just met. Totally normal behavior. Totally normal behavior. Right? Then she goes back to where she's staying. Now, they're staying in a boarding house. And I only mention this because it's not made clear initially where they're staying, and then it's like, oh, they're in a boarding house. She says they're in a boarding house explicitly. And the landlady is just like, I don't like anyone making noise in my house. I have guests here. And it's like, okay, cool. Thank you. She gets back to the boarding house, and Jonathan is there with the priest and Dumont. I know. You're shocked, right? You're shocked. Pebbles, you're shocked. I know you're shocked. Because remember, here's the map. Jonathan was on foot. Walking. On foot. Walking from Romania, Wallachia, highlighted in green, to... Atomic, am I boring you? I remember this movie in shocking detail. I have an excellent memory. I remember everything. Am I boring you, Atomic? I'm waiting for Atomic to answer. I'm too high and no one said anything. I've been hovering this whole time. I gotta move down. I'm waiting for Atomic to answer. Nay. Okay, good. So remember, Jonathan left after Dracula. Presumably, I'm gonna be generous. I'm gonna say days after Dracula to chase him down because he's gonna go save Mina. And I'm like, oh. Okay. Sure. You're just surprised because your brain did not retain the finer details? That's because I have a very good brain. My brain got lots of wrinkles. You can touch my brain wrinkles, Atomic. I'll allow it. Because I think you're cute. Anyway, we're moving on. Dracula has access to, supernatural means and travel. Yeah, he did stop to have a vampire nun blood orgy, but, that took, I don't know, a couple hours. The nuns did not put up much of a fight. He's in a hurry. He's got things to do. And Jonathan's on foot. And I'm like, okay, so Jonathan... And this was one thing that bugged me, but then I realized I was just dumb. I was like, how the hell did Jonathan know where Mina is? And then I'm like, oh, well, no, they said they were staying in the house, so he probably just went back to the house assuming she'd still be there. Why would you leave your wife in another country at a boarding house rather than when you're going to do business in another country? That's not anything weird at all. No. Totally normal. Totally a normal thing to do. When she gets there, Jonathan is there, and he is in dire straits. He's like, they're like, oh, he's near death. Which is pretty typical. Jonathan never makes it out of Dracula's castle, in good condition. Again, he fell out of a window, and, his ass and pelvis are shattered and destroyed. Not really, they should be. But, oh, he fell in the snow. I'm like, oh, he fell in the snow. So only shattered all of the bones in his ass, rather than all of the bones in his everything. His poor pelvis. Exactly that old school kid. His pelvis is shattered. His ass is broken. And he's walking around that man is not walking anywhere. His ass and pelvis are dust. This man is dead. This man has suffered severe injuries. But guess who else is there? Dumont is there, and so is the priest. Because they've realized they went back to the asylum, and they realized that Dracula, they don't know that Dracula is... They know it's Dracula at this point. They know who Dracula is. Because Priest has been hunting Dracula, and the church has been hunting Dracula for many, 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 many years. They know he let Maria out. And they're pissed. And they're like, oh no, the girl is in danger. So they run to go to intercept Dracula before he can get to Mina, thus failing completely because he just took her out on a whirlwind orgy date tour thing. So they suck at that. And I guess, like, they don't show them meeting, but, like, I guess they got to the boarding house and Jonathan was there and he's telling them all this Dracula lore and they're like, oh my god, give us the lore! So he relates everything that happened to the priest and to Dumas, who, and I love this scene. So they're trying to tell her, like, Dracula's a bad guy and she's in danger and, you know, like, things you would tell someone that you're trying to convince a vampire is trying to get them. And she's like, oh, I was just with Dracula. He was a perfect gentleman. Which he wasn't. But whatever. And Dumas, who is this little bespectacled man, little doctor, runs outside, like, in a huff. Like, it's like, he's just like, oh, that Dracula. He runs outside. And it's like, no, Dracula just dropped me off. He runs outside, presumably to confront Dracula. And I'm like, I have so much respect for you. This is the best version of Dumas. This is my favorite version of this character, because normally he's kind of an idiot. And in this, he's like, oh no, I'm going to go beat Dracula's ass. Again, just for reference, here's what Dracula looks like. Want to kiss my lips, baby? Like, ew! Ew! I don't like, this isn't a good angle for the picture either, because he's kind of got, like, he's, like, turning just so, and, like, all of his, he's got, like, that neck thing going, little neck wrinkles, like, he got, like, gills going. It's not a good look. This is not, if this what, thick-lipped Dracula. We are not hashtagging thick-lipped Dracula. No! No! We are not hashtagging thick-lipped Dracula. No, I refuse. I refuse. We are not. Thickula? No, that's worse. Why does Dracula look like Steve Buscemi? I thought that the whole movie! I'm like, he looks like Steve Buscemi, but not. He looks like the Temu version of Steve Buscemi. You have thick lips? Well, Atomic, your lips don't look like this, and I know, because you don't have a gross face. For the record, again, this actor is Caleb Landry Jones. This is the worst he looks. This is the second worst he looks in the movie. The first is early appearance. And then he gets old. Them thick lips. No! No! He uses sex perfume. Thickula, stop it. No! I refuse. No! 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 Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Okay. She, being Mita, I'm sorry, not Mita, Mina goes to her room, her and Jonathan's room, and is playing with a music box that Dracula gave her. Forget that, like, hey, if the lips fit, then you must have quit. I'm ending stream. Goodbye, everybody. She goes to her room, and remember, Dracula gave her, don't add Thicula to the automod banned words. She has a little music box Dracula gave her during their orgy date, and she opens it up and starts to play it. Remember, her husband, fiance, is downstairs. She hasn't seen him in, presumably, we don't know how long. Days, months, hours, 15 minutes. Time has no meaning. Time and distance have no meaning in this movie. Except 1408 to 1808. Like, okay, great, whatever. Or it's 1480 to 1880. Centuries have no meaning. All that matters is Dracula has sex perfume. That's all that matters. Dracula has sex perfume and thick lips, and he's gonna bang your mom! Just not even because he likes her, just because he's bored. And he's looking... Yes, okay, that old school kid. Dracula went to India, and he went to a bunch of other places, because why not? And he had them make this perfume. Did you ever see the movie, there's another movie that did this too, but it's a better movie. It's called Perfume, where basically he makes a perfume that basically makes women just orgasm and just like want to rush him. It is like if he had a Green Lantern ring. The perfume makes his lips grow bigger. I don't know. Maybe that's a side effect warning. This perfume will make your lips grow fat. I don't know. And like it apparently affects dudes, but like differently. It's just mind control perfume. And he carries it around and he spritzes it. So anytime you're thinking about like every time he has the perfume, he's just like I bet you the lips grew thick because of the perfume. I don't know. Well, look. Okay, look. Wait, we'll grab a picture. I'm gonna grab a picture of old Dracula. We'll grab a picture, not of the old Dracula. Like, this is what he looks like earlier in the movie. So, like, I don't think the perfume did it. This is what he looks like early in the movie. I think he's just got thick lips. I think he just got, like, big old thick lips. So she's playing with the music box. And they have told her very specifically about the sex perfume. That's why I'm harping on it. Because Priest learned about the sex perfume and he told her and they checked her for bites because they're like, you may have been bitten and not even realize it. He looks like a sad version of William Dafoe here. With thick lips. William Dafoe is sad. No, Willem Dafoe is very, very attractive. This man is not attractive. I'm sorry to the actor. For sexiness, you are the most unsexy Dracula. The most unsexy Dracula I have ever seen in a movie. I would sooner bang Count Orlok. I said what I said. I would sooner bang Count Orlok. Cheekbones aren't thin enough for Defoe. Okay, so again, Mina is in her room. She has her little music box that Dracula gave her. She's understandably freaked out and is playing with this music box. And then Dracula is just in her room. Remember, they only use the rules when they want to do it. So he didn't get invited in. We're not going to get into an argument about the boarding house thing and do... It's a house. So he definitely wasn't invited into a room. He came in through the balcony. And she's like, I know you have sex perfume. I know you're a monster. Get away from me. He proceeds to, like, be like, I do have sex perfume. And he, like, smashes the bottle. He's like, I never used it on you, though. And, you know, it's just doubling down on, I love you. Be with me forever. You're my one true love. Oh, my beautiful woman. And she just crumbles immediately. She puts up, like, the barest amount of resistance. She's like, get out of my room. This is inappropriate. And he's like, okay, I'll jump off the balcony. And he straight up Aladdins her. He straight up Aladdins her. Where he's like, I'm going to jump off the balcony. And she's like, no, don't. Oh, no. Go, leave. Use the door. And he's like, okay. And she's like, wait, you can't use the door. Everyone will know you were in my room. And he's like, okay, well, you're not giving me a lot of options. I can use the balcony or the door, and I'll leave. And she's just like, no, tell me more about your penis. And they proceed to basically fuck in the room with her husband downstairs. And she's like, bite me. Make me yours. I wish... And he's like, no, you have your whole life ahead of you. I don't want to bite you. I don't want to make you a vampire. And she's just like, do it. Do it. Bite me. Bite me. I'm not exaggerating. Atomic, you're my witness. Is anything I said a gross exaggeration in the last 3 minutes? Atomic watched this whole movie with me and a few other people in Discord. So I have Atomic in chat to back me up. I'm waiting for Atomic to back me up in chat. Nope, you're dead on. It's literally like a minute of her being like, leave my room. This is inappropriate. To have sex with me. Make me a vampire. I'm yours. With her dying husband downstairs after they've said, no, this dude uses sex magic. He's evil. And he's just like, okay, game. The gross exaggerations are them lips. instantly folds and becomes obsessed. She does! She instantly folds and becomes obsessed. Let me grab this. Man, get this poor poser with thick lips out of here. Well, I have bad news for you. If you don't like posers with thick lips, I have bad news for you. I have bad news for you. I have bad news for you. It gets worse. It gets worse. So he, again...
Listen. Who's that Pokemon? No, fuck you!
It's Thick Lipmon. This is the outfit that he takes her back to Wallachia in. And he's like and he tells his little gargoyles, it's like, my beloved is home. And then he's also like dressed like he's going to be in the Matrix. Jonathan, hearing his wife has been abducted, is like, we must go to Wallachia and save her. We're in Greece now. Yeah, we're in Greece. Summer lovin' had me a prance. Da 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 da. Going to France. But they're like, well, and the priest is like, well, I think I know someone who can help. So then they go back to another character who we talked about very, very briefly. Very, very briefly. Simon, who is played by Raphael Lucci, who is the person that Maria was going to marry. Thickening, you couldn't find a better outfit than that poser. Okay, we're gonna look at Maria again. It's okay. I'm gonna put Maria on screen. Here, look. I'll make it better. Here, look. I know what you like. Jingle, jingle, jingle. Jingle, jingle, jingle. Jingle, jingle. Look. Jingle, jingle, jingle. It's okay. You're safe. You're safe. You're safe. Here. There you go. It's okay. You're okay. Everything. We have Van Helsing at home. Wow. Okay. This is Maria. Dear Maria. And Maria is one of my favorite things about this movie because she's just fucking crazy. She goes back to her fiance's house after Dracula dips with his bride. And she's just like, pulls his pants down and is riding him in the living room. And he's like, wait, weren't you in the asylum? I told them to tell me when you were better. You know, like a concerned spouse, like a concerned soon-to-be spouse. And she's like, I'm fine. What that dick do? And like, he's like, and it's like, you're making me think that you weren't released from the asylum. You're making me think that you escaped. And I don't want to put my penis into you. But he immediately is like, okay, sure, let's have sex in the living room, crazy. At which point, Dumas, Jonathan, and the priest show up. This is one of the best scenes in this movie. This is one of the best scenes in this whole stupid movie. No, she's not an escape. Maybe an escape yandere. But like, yeah. She's acting a little yandere. It's cool. It's cool. You won't like just let me ride. They burst in because they want money to go fight Dracula and resources to go fight Dracula. And she's like, "Get the hell out of my house!" She full on Naruto runs at them. I am not exaggerating this. She full on Naruto runs at them. And the priest shoots her in the chest. Point blank range. Knocks her on her ass. She gets up, because no fucks were given, and proceeds to choke the shit out of him. And then they chop her head off, and that actually kills her. Oh, they also stab her in the chest. Because reasons. There's a motion blur and everything when Naruto runs. It's legendary. Yeah, this is literally her about to be shot in the chest. This is her right before she crouched She crouched. And that's how they got their fourth party member of the dude who just watched his fiance, who was trying to bone him, be murdered after she went all vampire-y. Okay. I know we've covered a lot of material. I am going to break something out for you all to, again, examine. Remember, just to clarify, Wallachia is in green. Paris is over here. Dracula, I'll give a pass to, because he's supernatural. And he has access to, you know, vast wealth, and blah, 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 blah. He's Dracula. He can get around a lot faster. Even though he shouldn't be able to get around a lot faster, because he should have to stop every day to sleep in his native soil, but they just kind of ignore that whole thing. He just sleeps in a bed, in a coffin. He kind of just does whatever he wants. He can flit across countries. I mean, yeah, sure, but the others can't. So Dracula and his simp go back to his castle, and they're getting ready to like smear food on each other and dance in rose petals and wear big shirts together, and they literally like go up to his bedroom and they're laying in bed, and he's just like, "You're so perfect. I love you. I'm so glad you're here." At this point, at this point in the movie, I'm like, wait, 4 idiots are about to show up and kick in the door, and he's gonna beat the stank off of them. And I was wrong. I was 100% wrong. It wasn't 4 idiots. 4 idiots were there, but it was 4 idiots and the Romanian army. They brought cannons. They sent in like a whole detachment with troops and guns and grenades, and they proceed to cannon bombard the shit out of Dracula's castle. And I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever. It's like, guys, we can just hang back. We don't have to go in. We can just like, this is an old castle. We can just fire cannons at this thing and just we'll win. But of course they go in, and we proceed to witness what happens when human beings fight little evil gargoyles. Alarmingly, it's kind of an even split. And Dracula, having learned nothing, is like, wait here in this room with a single bolted door, and I will go and kill the intruders. And he goes off. And she stays. Jonathan, Priest, Dumont, and I think that dude's name is Simon. If I'm misremembering this actor's name, oh, it's Corby. No, I think it was Simon. I have to look, because a lot of these actors, I have no idea who they are. And no, Simon is the little 19-year-old assistant. Let me see here. I'm looking at... It's Spencer. Henry Spencer, played by David Shields, is there too. One of the dudes is double wielding, and they're all just like, let's get in this and beat their asses. The gargoyles are beating the shit out of everyone. It's like a little back and forth. Like, they keep shooting cannonballs at Castle Dracula. Dracula goes into the little chapel where he earlier murdered people, and just like kills tons of soldiers, knocks out Jonathan. The priest is there, and the priest is like, basically like, dude, I'm here to save your soul. I can save your soul. Just let me kill you, let me win, and I'll save your soul. And like, Dracula's like, you make a convincing argument, but my wife is in danger. So he runs upstairs to save her, kills a whole shitload more priests, or not priests, more soldiers, who are trying to break into her room. And the priest comes up behind him and is like, dude, this is not going to end the way you want it to. You're not going to live eternally with her. You're going to damn her. Let me kill you. And he's like, okay, sure. Do it. And he proceeds to let the priest stake him. Then the movie gets even weirder. All the wheels come off at this point. Now remember, I don't know if I mentioned this detail before, but we're going with the idea that in this universe, if you kill a vampire who has made a vampire, all the vampires they made become cured. So if you kill Dracula, all the vampires are cured. So this is the end of the vampires. We kill Dracula, all the vampires are cured. So the process of becoming a vampire in this is never very well defined. But we do establish that, you know, Maria is dead. Mina is probably not a vampire anymore. And the other vampire that got made, who is Simon, is probably also cured. But he's back in Paris, so we don't really care about Simon. We don't see him again. The gargoyles. I know you're all very worried about the little gargoyles. Remember the little gargoyles? I know you loved them. Here, look, I'll show them again. Remember these little dudes? The little evil dudes who drink blood and, like, kidnap people? And you're like, are we going to see, like, a really sad moment where these gargoyles, like, disintegrate or turn to stone or explode or whatever? Nope. That's not what happens. There's a shot where you see children who are emaciated with little black rings around their eyes and they're pale, emerging from Dracula's castle. The gargoyles have turned into children. This raises so many questions that we get no answer to, where I'm like, are the children kids that Dracula bit? And who turned into gargoyles? If a vampire bites a kid in this universe, do they just turn into a gargoyle? No answers are forthcoming. And they just walk outside, barefoot, basically naked. They're wearing like little diapers, little cloth diapers. That's it. That's all they got on. In the winter, in Romania, it's cold, and I'm like, I think they're all gonna get shot by the Romanian army for like being vampire war criminals. I don't know. That's not the weirdest thing that happens, but it's pretty weird. Mina opens the door. Dracula at this point has been stabbed. He is no longer the thick-lipped poser. He has returned to old and busted thick-lipped. And they're like laying on the bed. Him and Mina are laying on the bed, and like they're having like they're having a moment. And he's like, I love you, blah, blah, blah. And he turns into dust on the bed. And she's just despondent. Professor McGonagall, this is Palpatine, but much worse. And she's, like, into it still. Like, she's not disgusted by him when he's old and haggard. Mina doesn't, like, come and go like, oh my god, I was hypnotized by your power and your sex perfume. She's weeping. And Jonathan comes up to the room, looks in, and sees her just, like, fingering the dust that was Dracula. And he looks at her, and she looks at him, and he just backs away and leaves. And she continues to just, like, play with his finger dust. That's a raisin, you smooching girl. What's wrong with you? The last shot of this movie is a big gust of wind picking up Dracula's dust and carrying it out one of the cannon holes in the ceiling, and you see like there's a big like light in the sky, and it's very pretty, and I guess the idea is that Dracula's soul has been saved and he is finally going to heaven, because the whole movie everyone's like, oh, God has taken away death as punishment for his sins, so he can't die. She does not chase after the dust. I think that she ate it. I legitimately think that she, like, stayed in the room eating his dust and then she just dies alone in the castle. Just Dracula lip dust all over her face, and Jonathan goes, I remember Atomic was like, "Look, I can't even, I can't even look at this rotten raisin. He's so ugly." Here, wait, it's okay. You're safe. You're here. I got something for you. Here, look, it's fine. Jingle, 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 jingle. It's okay. Jingle, jingle, jingle. You're safe. It's okay. You went through a lot. You can have that for a minute. And then the movie ends. That is the end of the film. The last shot is Dracula's bone dust flying up into the sky, and that's it. That's the film. That's the film. It was weird. It is the weirdest Dracula movie I have ever seen. Without any, like, there's a lot of bad Dracula movies, and there's a lot of weird Dracula movies. It's the weirdest one. It is the weirdest one I've ever seen. And if you're wondering, like, who the hell wrote this? Who the hell directed this? Well, again, it was written and directed by Luc Besson. If that name sounds kind of familiar to you, well, here's some of the other things that he's directed. La Femme Nikita, Atlantis from 1991, not the Disney animated Atlantis, just another movie called Atlantis. Fifth Element, The Professional. I'm looking for... And then he gets weird, and then we have, like, Arthur and the Minimoys, which he directed 3 of those movies. The Extraordinary Adventures of Adele Blanc-Cinq, a movie called The Lady, a movie called The Family, Lucy, Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets, Anna, Dogman. And I'm like, oh, half of his movies are super weird. The picture, it comes together now, where half of the shit he's directed is super, super weird. This is a weird film. I highly recommend watching it with others if you're going to watch it. Because you will want to MST3K this movie. I think if you watch this movie, like, in the vacuum of, like, seriously watching it, it would be really, really boring. It'd be really, really boring. I had fun watching it with Atomic, and just, like, when she Naruto runs at the dude. I can't find a clip of it, because no one is clipping this movie, because everyone's like, what am I watching? What is this? What is this film? I don't know what's happening. I rented it. I did not buy it. I rented the movie, and I was like, okay. It is a weird movie. It is odd. It's a fun watch, but, like, if you want, like... The weirdest thing about the Dracula movie that came out with Keanu Reeves... Oh. Well, no, there were a lot of weird things about that one. There was werewolf sex. That was weird. Dracula's a werewolf and has sex with a lady. That was a thing that they did. Keanu Reeves just has a British accent, but forgets he's supposed to have it, like, in every other scene. So he'll be like, I'm British Keanu Reeves, pop, what? And then he just is like, hi, I'm Keanu Reeves. And it's like, Keanu, did you forget? Or did you just... Okay. I'm going to turn my music off for a second, because I'm going to show you all the trailer. I know, you're very excited, I'm sure, to see the trailer. Keanu tried. He did. I'm not trying to, like, accents are hard. And I feel like they should have just been nice to Keanu and been like, what if we just, like, didn't do the accent? What if we just didn't do that to Keanu? What if we just kind of let him be Keanu? And then, like, nah, he can do it. Okay, I'm going to shrink down. Whee! Don't miss me too much. I'll be down here. I gotta... okay. I think I'm too far over now. I can be a little bigger than that. There we go. That's better! Alright, check this out. This is the trailer. Get out of here, Project Hail Mary. Take your ads and stick them up your ass. I am not here to promote your film.
My order has been studying this for 400 years. And you're the first to have captured a specimen alive. These creatures are the result of a divine curse.
What exactly did I capture?
A vampire.
See, a nun sex orgy.
For 400 years now, we've been looking for the source.
Here you are.
See, he's got
He
thick
comes
lips.
to find his princess.
Count Dracula. Centuries ago, I asked God for one favor. I will fight in his name. But I ask him to spare my wife. He took my princess. Tell your God that until he brings me back my wife, my life no longer belongs to him. Pure souls can be reincarnated.
Yeah, he lays in bed with her dress for a
Since then,
while.
I have lived on, waiting for her return.
She's in danger.
He's here. Let them come.
If we succeed in
This is
destroying
not
the
Bram
demon,
Stoker's
all
classic.
those who he's bitten will
See?
be free.
Nun sex orgy. Nun blood sex orgy.
God sent you here to kill me.
God sent me here to save you.
The movie is completely ridiculous. It's completely and totally ridiculous. It is a ridiculous film. I highly recommend watching it once, if only for the Naruto running. That alone makes it worth the 2 hours of your time. So look out for watch parties with it. It's wild. It is a wild experience of film. I like. It's kind of amazing that it got made and that no one was like, this movie's weird and kind of bad. But then again, people seem to really be liking it. So do with that what you will. You would watch it for Maria Cruz because she's hot. That's fair. That is fair. Everybody, thank you for the raid, Atomic. I am going to raid my friend Freya. She's really, really great. She's playing Red Dead Redemption. We're going to raid Freya. This has been Tower Tour. I do these pretty regularly, sometimes once a month, sometimes more. It depends on what I can work myself up to gab about. Sorry, I'm typing. Give me one sec. Freya is playing Red Dead Redemption. Yeah, of course. Thank you for being here. I'm going to give a special raid message. Thick-lipped vampire raid. There you go. There's your raid message. You'll have a lot of fun with Freya. Freya's a very talented streamer. I will be back on Saturday here. We're going to play Resident Evil 2. And I will be back in Discord tomorrow. We're going to watch a movie. I think the Pokemon movie is winning right now. But if you want to vote, you still can. And Sunday we'll have another watch party. So you got me for the next 3 days, babies! You got me, Pebbles. I'm here. Until next time, remember to play more games, be safe, hydrate, and do your best. I'm proud of you all. Bye-bye.